What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you what I believe to be the best shoulder mobility exercise, whether you're very tight and you want to work on your shoulder mobility and flexibility, or you have unstable shoulders and you want to build a stability. This exercise got you covered. And also, if you're working towards a handstand or even the V-sit, this exercise is for you. With that being said, let's get to the video. Alright, family, before we begin, I want to know what is your favorite shoulder mobility exercise. Please leave it in the comment section down below so we can have a discussion going. With that being said, the movement that we're going to be doing today is called Shoulder Dislocates. We're going to be talking about the benefits, variations of the exercise, how to do it properly, what you shouldn't be doing, and also how to add it to your own training protocol. Let me do a quick demonstration first before we go into the benefits. Simply getting a stick, ideally, and then raising it up and bringing it back, and then forward. So let's begin with the benefits and why you should be doing this exercise. It's an exercise that puts the shoulder in through all the ranges of motion, full rotation, we elevate, and when we retract, we're gonna get into those specific now. So if you are very, very tight, it's really gonna emphasize opening the chest area mostly, which is gonna allow you to get into that full shoulder flexion range, as well into that full shoulder extension range. But also, if you have unstable shoulder, because the shoulder joint, because of its capacity to be so mobile, it can also be prone to be unstable, which is my personal case. This exercise addresses stability through all those ranges of motions. So if you're someone that has very loose and unstable shoulders, maybe you are hypermobile, then this exercise is an amazing addition to your training. And finally, if you're working towards a handstand or towards a V-sit, it's gonna give you that shoulder flexion stability in the handstand, as well as that shoulder extension in the V-sit. Let's talk first about the execution of the exercise. How should you be doing it and what not to do? First of all, I'm going to recommend that you grab a stick. There is an exception to use bands. We're going to be looking at on the variations and progressions of the exercise, but ideally you want to have a stick so you can measure progress. As you can see, I have like little lines right here because we're going to be getting closer as we progress with this exercise. So to start, grab it as wide as possible to get a sense of the movement. The wider, the easier the exercise is going to be. You're gonna grab the stick as wide as you possibly can. Arms are fully straight. Do not bend them under any circumstances. If you bend them, you're simply gonna be cheating and you're not gonna be using the rotation of the scapula properly that we want to focus on. So we start very, very wide. The stick is right in front of us. To start the movement, we simply allow our shoulders to naturally depress down, no protraction or retraction, they're simply in a neutral position. Then we raise them overhead very, very slow, keeping the arms straight. Once the stick is overhead, you're gonna elevate the scapula to allow it to go through that range of motion, and then you're gonna bring it back, keeping the arms fully straight. Once you get to the bottom, or once you're lowering down, you retract and depress the shoulders, and then you simply reverse the motion. So as you go up, one more time, we elevate, and as you go down, you depress and retract. Depression is shoulders down, retraction is shoulders back. The speed, you want to shoot for about 5 to 7 seconds per rep, the full rep. So I don't want to see anybody doing this. That's not the point of the exercise. You want to be moving it as controlled as you possibly can and focus on every single range of the movement. Once we get into getting closer, you're gonna find that once the movement becomes hard, you're gonna find some ranges that you wanna just go fast. You really wanna control those little ranges because those are the ranges of your shoulders that you are weak and are the ones that you need to work the most. Now, what not to do on this exercise. First of all, as I mentioned, is bending your arms, simply getting here and trying to bend the stick. Another mistake is getting one arm over the other. That simply means that the intensity is way too hard for your level. So start super, super wide, or even go to the band that we're gonna be talking about later. Second mistake is going just simply way too fast. Another one is not elevating the scapula or not taking into consideration the movement of the scapula, which is the elevation, the depression, and the retraction of the scapula. And finally, you want to be keeping a hollow body position. So what tends to happen is that if I find a block right here, I'm gonna try to compensate. The body's always gonna find a way to compensate, and it's going to arch in order to get that movement back. So keep a hollow body shape, no super contracted position like a planche or something, but a small posterior pelvic tilt, more core engagement, and your entire spine as straight as possible. And as you bring it up, do not arch, only focus on the movement of the shoulder and the scapula. And as you lower it down with control, pause for like a second on each position, down and up. That's it for the execution. Now let's see some variations and modifications. Alright family, now for the modifications of this exercise, let's begin with the easiest one, and that is if you grab the stick super wide, the wider than the stick can go, and you find weird sensations or the shoulder simply can't pass beyond, I'm going to recommend two things. The first one is to simply keep it simple and work on your shoulder mobility with some active and passive stretching. That is not this exercise. I'm going to be linking up right here all the routines that we have for shoulder mobility. You can pick and choose, and ideally you want to pick and choose either one or two and do it 2 to 3 times per week to improve your basic general shoulder mobility so you can do this exercise. Otherwise, you can grab a band. I would see it as a progression. The only problem with the band is that it's very hard to track progress, if not impossible, because it depends on how much you open the band as you go up. But this can give you a general sense. You can go to the widest that the band can go, and it doesn't allow you to go here, and it's going to allow you to clear some space and go behind. But again, it's very hard to track progress, and what I really like about this exercise is really tracking progress as we go, getting very narrow, and begin to building more mobility and more stability in the movement. So only use the band if absolutely necessary or if you are starting out, but once again, I highly recommend that you begin with general mobility and flexibility stuff before jumping into the stick if you cannot grab it with the wider possible. Now moving back to the stick, which is what I highly recommend we all do. As you can see, I put an ankle weight right here. You can put also a small plate, 2 to 3 pounds to the very top. It is recommended to do it with weight, whether you are a type person improving mobility or if you are flexible or immobile and you want to build stability, just because of the simple fact to create a strength through that range. Now, I would recommend to start without weight for a couple of weeks and then add the 2 to 3 pounds. When are you going to increase the weight is only, or is recommended only, this is shoulder width, when you can dislocate at about a hand more than shoulder width. It will be this one right here. Until then, stick only with 2 to 3 pounds at the very top, and once you get here or even to shoulder width, which is the main goal of this exercise, once you get to shoulder width, you can increase to 6 pounds. No more than 6 pounds. It is absolutely not necessary unless you are a total mobility beast that you can do this with a barbell, but I would not recommend that to the general population. So start with 2 to 3 pounds. Once you get to a hand distance of shoulder width wider, you can increase to 5 to 6 pounds. So the progressions are simply choose a weight. This one I believe is 2 pounds. I began literally right here where you see the orange marks, and as you progress week by week, then ideally you want to get narrow and narrow and narrow until ideally you can dislocate a shoulder width. I cannot dislocate a shoulder width yet, so I'll be like around here. Once you are there is when you're able to increase the weight. Alright family, now we're going to be looking at some variations of the exercise. Some of them are actually, well, probably all of them are harder than the standard version. The first one I'm going to recommend is towards the wall. This one is for people that already have a 180 degree of shoulder flexion, even with the width, like you don't have to be shoulder width, but with the width that you're actually doing the dislocates with. And this is going to prevent, because from this range to this range, there's really not that much strength that we're building, especially with 2 to 3 pounds just creating this shoulder flexion. What we're most concerned is the dislocation part and the lowering portion of the movement. So if you go towards the wall, getting the chest to the upper chest to touch the wall, creating that hollow body shape is going to allow you, it's going to reduce the chances of first extending the spine and second working on the hardest part of the movement. We grab it a little bit wider here. So you create that hollow body shape, you elevate the scapula and bring it down, very slow and control, depress the shoulders and retract the scapula. And then you reverse the motion, keeping the arms straight and very slow, taking care of all those little ranges of motion. That is the first variation. The second one is going to be on the floor. It's called prone shoulder dislocates. It's going to be laying down in our chest and our stomach. This one is my favorite variation for the simple reason that it's the only one that changes the strength curve, meaning that when we do it standing or any other variations I want to be doing next, the stick is up over our head when we're doing the dislocation, which is the hardest part of the movement. So we're really not gravity is not making the exercise harder, it's actually making the exercise a little bit easier. Once we're laying down, if we perform the movement, the hardest portion, gravity is pulling us down, the strength curve is absolutely different, it feels like a completely different exercise, kind of, and we do the same thing. So you begin laying down on your chest, ideally you create that hollow body shape, don't exaggerate it, but simple, small contraction on the core, so you have a little gap right here. Find your distance accordingly. The stick has to be fully balanced. The weight has to be in the middle. Be very precise with this. Then elevate the scapula, arms straight, raise it up over the head. Control every single range of motion. Retract and depress as you lower down. And then reverse the motion. This part is especially hard, so don't do that. Work with slow and control to the initial position and then reverse the motion. This is the variation that I personally use, and it's the one that I would recommend. Once you spend some time standing and you feel comfortable with the movement, this is the one that I would recommend, especially if you're working more towards stability rather than mobility. Two more variations, which is going to be seated and squat position. These two variations are good to play around with, and it's good as a test of mobility, but you also need lower body mobility, and it simply prevents your spine from either flexing too much or from extending too much. You sit in a seated forward fold. If you cannot sit with a straight back here because of your hamstring flexibility, don't even attempt this exercise. But if you can sit straight, simply sit up with a tall spine. A small extension is good. You won't be able to go any further. And from here, raise it up, raise it back. Same concept, same speed, same cues, same everything as before, or otherwise you can do it on a squat. This one is very, very hard. You can use it as a challenge. Simply bring the stick straight in front of you, raise it up over the head, lean forward so you don't fall back. Same concept, same cues, that's everything, and then you reverse the motion. Another thing about the stick that I really want to mention is that you get a good stretch on the forearms and wrist that you don't get from the band. As the stick goes behind, if you see the position of my wrist and forearms, you're getting a really nice stretch on this area of the forearm. One more variation, which is a different exercise, is not called dislocates, but called inlocates. It's very good if you're working towards a visit, and especially if you're working towards a mana. We basically begin backwards. We begin in supination, so the palm is facing forward. This one I can only do it very, very wide, and only do it if you're working towards those skills or if you have some good shoulder mobility already. From here, it's the same motion, but we inlocate, so we raise it up, and we end up in internal rotation right here. This one gets a really, really nice stretch on the forearms and wrist as well, and then you simply reverse the motion as such. Again, another one to give it a try, but only if you're working towards this movement or if you have already shoulder mobility experience under your belt. With that being said, the final part of this video is going to be a training protocol and how you can incorporate it into your training. Alright, family, with all that information that I've just shared, how can you incorporate it into your training and what is the best approach for you? Now, some people recommend to do this on a daily basis, and I absolutely agree with that as long as it's a low intensity, meaning that you go way wider than the closest grip that you can go, and you simply do it for a couple of reps, 12 to 15, but maybe you can do like 15 or 20, so very low intensity. Feel free to do it daily, especially if you are on the tighter side. Feel free to absolutely do that. Now, what I highly recommend is, or what I personally do on my own practice, is 1 to 2 sets as a warm-up, because I do it before my mana sessions or before my handstand sessions to open up my shoulders and prepare for the workout ahead. So 1, 2, or you can even go to 3 sets, and that in an intensity that is actually challenging for you. You will be opening the shoulders, you will be creating stability on the shoulders, and you will be preparing your shoulders for the workout ahead. The other option is to do it 2 to 3 sets or even 2 to 4 sets at the end of your workout. Let's say you're doing a normal upper body workout that doesn't include handstands, or you don't need mobility in that specific workout. You can add it at the end for conditioning and to build strength and stability. 3 to 5 sets Again, reps in all the scenarios could be 8 to 15. With the right intensity, only you know that. And I would recommend to do it 2 to 3 times per week if you're doing it with a high intensity at the very most. If not, you can do it daily with a low intensity. With that being said, I think I covered everything you guys wanted to know about the shoulder dislocate. This was a very requested video, so please let me know down below if you have any further question about this exercise, or if you'd like me to cover any specific exercise in detail, just like we did here. And with that being said, the winners from last video giveaway are gonna be shown right here. You guys just won 3 months for free as a premium membership to the SM Academy, full access to entire library of courses, workout programs, or individual moves so you can create your own workouts, our HIIT section, our mindfulness section, our calisthenics skills section, our primal elements sections, our mobility and flexibility protocol section, our hybrid home workout experience so you can work out at home, our beautiful and wonderful private community, and everything that is the universe of the SM Academy. Remember that we post every Thursday at 12 p.m. EST, and if you comment within the first 60 minutes of the video, you get a chance to win the giveaway. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment down below what else would you like to see on this channel, and we'll see you all next week. Watch out. That was a mouth tape. Good. You.